Alarm is ringing in the country. Rates of caesarean childbirths doubled in the past decade. And mother's health is not the only reason.
तो अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट पंडित जी उन्होंने एक डेट निकाली, तो आई रिक्वेस्टेड माय गायनोकोलॉजिस्ट कि अगर वो उस डेट पे अगर कर पाए तो इससे आई रिक्वेस्टेड कि आप सिजेरियन ही कर दीजिए, बिकॉज मेरे को वही डेट चाहिए थी।
डॉक्टर साहब, हमारे बच्चे का भविष्य खराब हो जाएगा, आप एक्लिक्स में उसको पैदा नहीं होने दीजिए।
So what's leading to this alarming rise in C-section deliveries?
सबको पता है डायबिटीज़ इंडिया में इतना ज़्यादा कॉमन है, हाइपोथायराइड बहुत कॉमन, इन सब के कारण सिजेरियन का रेट बढ़ गया है।
A lifestyle-induced phenomena or hospitals' tool to making money? Hello and a warm welcome to Ground Report, the one-stop show that gets you stories from the remote corners of the country. Through this program, we try and focus on that section of the society which remains largely deprived. And we also put a spotlight on those issues which do not find much of prominence. In our today's issue, we focus on the rising number of caesarean cases. According to the WHO standards, any country should not exceed with the caesarean childbirths more than 10 to 15%. Anything higher than that indicates that either the mothers are going in for a controlled birth or the profiteering healthcare system is pushing in the women for caesarean. According to the Indian standards, this WHO threshold was crossed way back 10 years ago. Anu Diwan with the top story on Ground Report today.
के बाद उठने बैठने में दिक्कत है।
वो हमें आके समझा रहे हैं कि डॉक्टर साहब, हमारे बच्चे का भविष्य खराब हो जाएगा, आप एक्लिक्स में उसको पैदा नहीं होने दीजिए।
एवरेज एज ऑफ मदर भी थोड़ी बढ़ गई है, कॉम्प्लिकेशंस ज़्यादा है।
Stuck in a hospital for 15 days with no labor pains, Babita finally gave birth to a baby via caesarean surgery. But that was just the beginning of her health problems.
प्रॉब्लम यही है कि सिजेरियन के बाद उठने बैठने में दिक्कत है और जो पेन देते हैं, जो जिससे पैर सुन्न हो जाते हैं, लेकिन उसका जो असर ख़त्म हो जाता है उसके बाद बहुत दर्द होता है।
Babita had no option other than a C-sec, but a large number of women in the country have started opting for a caesarean by way of choice for reasons suiting their life. Take the case of Shilpi, who chose caesarean as she wanted her baby to be born on a specific day and time.
पंडित जी उन्होंने एक डेट निकाली, तो थोड़ा क्योंकि वो ड्यू डेट के आसपास था, सो आई रिक्वेस्टेड माय गायनोकोलॉजिस्ट कि अगर वो उस डेट पे अगर कर पाए कि आप सिजेरियन ही कर दीजिए, बिकॉज मेरे को वही डेट चाहिए थी।
सोलर एक्लिप्स होने वाला था इंडिया में, हमें इतनी रिक्वेस्ट आई कि जैसे हम पेशेंट को समझाते हैं, वो हमें आके समझा रहे हैं कि डॉक्टर साहब, हमारे बच्चे का भविष्य खराब हो जाएगा, आप एक्लिप्स में उसको पैदा नहीं होने दीजिए।
There has been a steep rise in the number of caesarean cases in Delhi's private hospitals. An RTI petition revealed that between 2013 and 2015, 65% babies were delivered via caesarean in Delhi's private hospitals, and in the same period, the figures stand at 20% for government hospitals. Private hospitals have often been under the scanner for forcing mothers to go for caesarean deliveries even when it's not needed. Denying the charge, doctors blame changing lifestyles.
अर्बन इंडिया है, उसमें एवरेज एज ऑफ मदर भी थोड़ी बढ़ गई है, कॉम्प्लिकेशंस ज़्यादा है, तो इन सब के कारण सिजेरियन का रेट बढ़ गया है। एक और बात है, वो ये है कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा पेशेंट्स प्राइवेट में भी जाना पसंद करते हैं 1-to-1 केयर के कारण।
It's not just the national capital that's in the grip of caesarean trouble. Numbers have risen in many other states as well.
Rising number of caesarean cases in India not only calls for a change in the mindset of women, but at the same time raises a big question mark on the modern day maternity care when compared with the old traditional midwifery system. This is Anu Diwan signing off for Ground Report.
International medical journal Lancet has come out with shocking figures. For example, the top 20% quintile, that is the richest population of the country, is undergoing caesarean deliveries, taking the average rate to about 18%. Another example of a shocking figure is that from the National Family Health Survey, which says that Telangana has registered the highest incidence of caesarean deliveries, taking the rate up to 58%. Take a look at this report, which will force you to think about the maternal and the newborn child health program.
Over the last decade, women undergoing caesarean deliveries has shot up exponentially. According to the National Family Health Survey, in 2005-2006, caesarean deliveries accounted for roughly 9%. But by the year 2015-16, this figure has gone up to roughly 18%. A breakup between the rural and the urban divide brings out the marked difference. Urban areas account for 28% C-sec deliveries, while for rural areas the figure is still low as 13%. The most appalling figures are that of private hospitals, where 41% deliveries are carried out via C-section, as compared to government hospitals, where caesarean deliveries account for just 12%.
ये जो अंतर है, उसी को समझने के लिए हमने जो कोर्ट में पिटीशन डाला, एक तो ये डाला कि एक कहीं ना कहीं अलार्मिंग सिचुएशन है, बट क्योंकि हम कोई विशेषज्ञ नहीं हैं, हम कोई डॉक्टर नहीं हैं, तो हमने वही अपील किया कि इसको लेके एटलीस्ट कहीं ना कहीं कमीशन ऑफ इंक्वायरी बननी चाहिए कि इस मुद्दे को समझ सकें कि ये एक्चुअली में है क्या.
If you look at the all India figures, they are even more revealing. Telangana tops the chart with 58% of deliveries through caesarean, followed by Andhra Pradesh with 40%, Kerala 36%, Tamil Nadu 34%, Uttar Pradesh still better with 9%, and Nagaland boasts of the minimum with 6% C-section deliveries.
हम इसकी स्टडी भी कर रहे हैं और कंसल्ट भी कर रहे हैं. अभी कोई फॉर्मली हमने कुछ इसमें किया नहीं है. बहुत से एस्पेक्ट्स हैं, उन एस्पेक्ट्स को और गौर करने की जरूरत है.
Global medical journal Lancet says that women from affluent class prefer C-sec deliveries to avoid the labor pain, and the percentage of the richest quintile going for caesarean births currently stands at a frightening 30%. In the meanwhile, Women and Child Development Minister Maneka Gandhi, in a directive to the Health Ministry, has asked to make the data on C-sec deliveries mandatory. Also at the same time stating the reason why caesarean was conducted upon a patient. All eyes will be on how the Health Ministry takes it forward from here. For Ground Report, Rajasabha TV.
These are the shocking figures which show the grim reality of the Indian maternity system. In fact, if an option given, the vaginal deliveries pose better health outcomes both for the mother and the baby. In fact, education and counseling go a long way. Moving on now to another story and another region, why the life of an Indian fisherman in the Indian Ocean is a troubled affair. In fact, the maritime boundary line between India and Sri Lanka is taking newer and newer forms, and fishermen on both sides of the waters are extra sensitive to the territorial limitations. Many a times, fishermen are killed at the hands of the Sri Lankan Navy or they are captured. What is the actual situation on the ground? Panchanan Mishra gets you this report. Segar lost his arm more than 3 decades ago in a firing by the Sri Lankan Navy. He reached home only after he swam for 2 continuous days. Segar was lucky that he survived and came back, but his 3 friends lost their lives at the hands of the Sri Lankan Navy.
Navy. நான் நாள் கடந்து வந்தேன். கையை நானே வெட்டி போட்டேன். யாழக்கிழமை சுட்டது.
Another town, another tale. Shekaran was captured by the Sri Lankan Navy and had to spend 48 days in jail till finally he was released.
அவங்க போட்ல எழுதிட்டு விட்டாங்க. பழையெல்லாம் பிடிச்சி வெட்டி எல்லாத்தையும் அள்ளி அரைஞ்சிட்டு போட்டை மட்டும் எழுதிட்டு விட்டான். 4 ஆளையும் கட்டி எழுதிட்டு விட்டாங்க.
These are just a few of the many stories of fishermen who inadvertently stray into the Lankan waters. They either meet death or are captured by the naval forces. But the fishermen woes don't end here. Many times, big businessmen employ these poor fishermen and send them on motorized fishing boats, despite Sri Lanka's warning against deep-sea fishing.
ஸ்ரீலங்கன் பார்டர் நெருக்கி போகிறோம்னா ஒரு மழை காற்றுன்னு வரும்போது அவங்க எங்களை பிடிச்சிக்கிறாங்க. அப்போ வந்து சுத்தமாக இங்கே தமிழ்நாடு கடற்கரை ஓரத்தில் வந்து மீனே இல்லை. எல்லாத்தையுமே அழித்து எடுத்துட்டாங்க. எல்லாமே இந்த ரெட்டமடி சுருக்குமடிங்கிற மாதிரி ஸ்பீடு என்ஜின் வச்சு எல்லாத்தையுமே அழித்து சுத்தமாக முடிச்சிட்டாங்க.
The fisherman row has been a major irritant in India-Sri Lanka ties for a long time now. A ministerial-level talk between India and Sri Lanka was held in November last year on the issue. But despite that, on 1st of May, 5 fishermen were arrested by the Sri Lankan Navy in the Bay of Mannar. Earlier on March 26th, 12 fishermen were arrested. On February 27th, a fisherman from Rameshwaram was shot dead near Kachativu.
The Sri Lankan patrolling is coming. 1/3 of the people are Chinese people. 2/3 Sri Lankan, 1/3 Chinese people. They are not warning them. They are not striking them. They are not shooting. They are shooting. They are Sri Lankan government using Chinese people.
The solution certainly is not extra deployment of Navy and Coast Guard, but can the government institutionalize fishing in Indian waters so that alternative means of livelihood are provided is the million-dollar question.
The incidents of clash between Tamil fishermen and Sri Lankan Navy is almost a regular phenomena. It's all because of heavy dependency of the fishermen of both the countries in this Park Bay area. But according to experts, the issue can be resolved by providing alternative means of livelihood for the Tamil fishermen. In Rameshwaram with cameraman Junaid, this is Panchanan Mishra for Ground Report, RSTV.
In fact, the fishermen issue is one of the biggest irritants as far as the ties between India and Sri Lanka is concerned. Joining me now is Akhilesh Suman, who has been covering Ministry of External Affairs for many, many years. Akhilesh, I would like to understand from you as to what is the real reason? Why do we see this kind of a problem of fishermen being either killed or captured? And this is a recurrent phenomena. In fact, every year we hear stories of fishermen being killed or captured. Why is it?
Yeah, actually, many of the times we have not taken the issue as a humanitarian cause. Because see, both sides, there are fishermen who are hand to mouth. Fishing is their prime profession. Either in Sri Lanka or in India, they go in the deep water sea, and then they come back, they spend 2 or 3 days. So there is lack of sensitivity in both the governments about, like you cannot treat a fisherman like a war criminal. In both the sides, you treat fishermen like war criminals. And that is why when this NDA 2 came, it was reiterated many times, and External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj told Sri Lankan government that treat this issue as a humanitarian issue, not as a war criminal like. And you are amazed to understand and hear that when Ranil Wickremesinghe became the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, he is still the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, and when he took oath of office, then he told that kill the fishermen who are coming in our water. So this was the mindset in Sri Lankan dispensation. But again, I am telling you that they are also not very wrong. Our fishermen also need to obey and follow some code of conduct. Because, you have to be responsible enough when both the waters are undefined most of the times. We have a 400-kilometer long maritime boundary between India and Sri Lanka, and stretches 16 to 45 kilometers from each shore. So you have to be very cautious that you are not going into their territory. You can fish in the high sea, but you should not cross in their territory.
Right.
And
but what I would like to understand from you is that despite so many agreements, for example, there was one agreement which was signed in 1974 between India and Sri Lanka. Despite these kind of agreements being in place, and as you rightly pointed out, that the fishermen are always desperate for their catch and they go into the deep sea waters without even unknowingly also many times they do it. But why is it that no system has been put in place? Either we always see that the international police or the coast guards, they're always there to warn the people that look, this is the international maritime boundary line and you should not cross. So is the system not in place, or they don't know where the boundary ends? So is it an issue of the international maritime boundary line not properly demarcated, or or the governments on both sides want to make it a political issue, not a humanitarian issue?
No, it's not that governments want to make it a political issue. It's not. Actually, the fishermen many times are out of the purview and control of the government, because this is also a very sad part of the whole story, that we consider ourselves, India consider ourselves as a super power in IT industry. We are having very good professionals in software, and also we can track things. But we don't have any tracking system as far as fishermen are concerned.
So no tracking system, that's an important point you said. But since the time Mr. Modi has assumed power, what are the immediate steps which have been taken to contain this problem?
Yeah, first thing, that External Affairs Minister appealed to the Sri Lankan government that deal this issue as a humanitarian issue, and we want a permanent solution of the whole thing. So what happens that our fishermen go with bottom trawler that takes everything from the... So it has been suggested that you should use long liner, so that you don't have to trail the whole fish from the bottom. So it will create some sort of bonhomie between the two countries, and also the fishermen of Sri Lankan side will be satisfied to some extent. But also again, it's a sad part that when Sri Lankan Navy captures the fishermen, they are kept in jails for years or 2 years. It's not such a big crime. And we also keep the same. It is not that Sri Lankan only keep. We also keep the same way. But they don't return our boats also. So these are the issues that is being talked about. Right. And there was an agreement in November 6 that every 3 months, both the sides will sit together and will decide that how to take it further.
In fact, humanitarian approach seems to be the best solution between the two countries. Thank you, Akhilesh, for coming on the program. Moving on now to Jharkhand's Jharia coal fields, where the coal mine fires have been raging for the last 100 years, posing serious health and environmental hazards to the people living in the area. Is there a solution in sight? Kriti Mishra gets you this report from the land, which is also known as the land of coking coke.
Jharkhand's Jharia coal fields, one of India's largest and most productive, but also home to some of the longest burning fires in the world. Detected in 1916, these 60 feet flames have been raging for the last 100 years unimpeded. At present, 70 mine fires are reported from the region.
हम जब छोटे-छोटे थे उस समय से ये आग लगा हुआ है. ये आग उठने वाला नहीं. यहाँ से 15-20 किलोमीटर दूरी तक पूरा आग फैला हुआ है. इसलिए कितना भी कोशिश किया जाए आग नहीं बुझने वाला. बारिश भी पड़ेगी फिर भी आग नहीं बुझेगी.
The fire in the Jharia coal field has mainly been due to unscientific mining and extraction of coal in the past. At stake are the lives of thousands who live in the area.
या तो जितना भी घर दिखाई दे रहा है वो टोटल का टोटल घर के भी नीचे में बहुत सारा आग मिलेगा. यहाँ कब क्या हो जाएगा इसका कोई गारंटी नहीं है. आज से 20 साल पहले की घटना है कि एक हस्बैंड वाइफ जो थे वो पूरा के पूरा एकदम नीचे चले गए थे. वो भी बरसात का मौसम ही था.
Coal fire also causes a huge environmental and health issue. The burning coal pumps all sorts of gases and particles into the air, and underground fires have created sinkholes. People live amongst smoke and toxic fumes that constantly seep out of the earth, causing respiratory and skin problems.
तकलीफ ये है कि हम लोग यहाँ पर बगल में रहते हैं, पूरा गैस निकलता है, धुआं है, बहुत परेशानी में रहते हैं हम लोग, कोई दिखने वाला नहीं है, बाल बच्चा बीमार पड़ रहा है.
More than 37 million tons of coal worth billions of dollars have been lost to fires at Jharia, and 1.4 billion more metric tons are inaccessible because they are blocked by the fires. Nearly 96,000 families living in the fire zone of Jharia coal field are to be displaced, and nearly 1,000 acres of land is needed for rehabilitating all the families from the fire zone. For now, the government has approved a proposal for a multi-story colony for the families to be displaced from the fire zone in few years.
You can see behind me how fire has engulfed this entire region. Even as I stand here, it's difficult for me to breathe and even speak. And I can only fathom the misery of people residing in this region. This fire has not only caused air pollution, but has also contaminated water and added to the acidity because of presence of certain percentage of sulfur in coal. This fire has caused massive degradation of land and also vegetation in this entire region. Reporting from Jharia, with camera person Shiv Kumar, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
So you can imagine the condition of the people who are living near those coal mine fires. In fact, we can just hope for an early solution for all these people who are living in there. Time for a short break. On the other side, we take you to the parched land of Bundelkhand, which is reeling under drought. Welcome back. You're watching Ground Report, and now let's take you to the parched land of Bundelkhand, where the situation is really grim. The land, cattle and people are thirsting for water, and their desperate cries have fallen on deaf ears. Intensifying drought has forced hundreds and hundreds of people to migrate from the region. Take a look at this report.
Mile after mile, vast stretches of dry, parched land in Bundelkhand's Hamirpur area. Protests over demand for more water are prevalent all across this water-scarce region. But these demands have fallen on deaf ears, and the lives of people here have become monotonous drill.
से आज की यहाँ से 50 साल 100 साल पुरानी है। हमारी बाबा परबाबा भी पानी मांगते रहे और आज हम भी पानी मांग रहे हैं। यहाँ बिल्कुल 2, 4 से 8 गांव ऐसे हैं कि पिछले साल भी कुआं तालाब की जिंदगी के ऊपर सारी यहाँ की व्यवस्था है पानी की। तालाब हैंडपंप प्लस कुआं।
Last year, Akhilesh Yadav's government had launched the farm pond scheme, under which 4,000 ponds were supposed to be dug in 1 month, but by the time the process was complete, it was too late because the rainwater could not be stored as the season got over and the rainwater was wasted.
चेक डैम बनाए गए सर, तालाब खेतों में खुदवाए गए, लेकिन बरसात के बाद खुदवाए गए। उनसे हम लोगों को कोई लाभ नहीं मिला, बरसात निकलने के बाद वो बने।
As drought intensifies, people from the region are ready to migrate, which is an annual routine story, but the biggest worry this year is the livestock. After the Yogi Adityanath's government announced the closure of illegal slaughterhouses, poor families are unable to sell their cattle.
हमारी समस्या तो बहुत गड़बड़ हो जाएगी। जैसे जानवर नहीं बिकेगा तो मान लो कि किस लिए पाला जाएगा उसको? भाई बकरी पाली जाएगी, जब उससे बिकेगा नहीं तो क्या पौवा भर दूध देती है, उसमें क्या समस्या है?
While many ponds in the region have dried up, some have small patches of moist earth. For frail animals, the patches are quicksand. The legs get stuck. Unable to extricate themselves, they collapse and die.
500 जानवर अन्ना है। आदमी जो है तो भूखल प्यासे जो है तो खेत में रखाए बैठा रहता है। जानवर का कोई सुरक्षा नहीं, न कोई सी सरकार ने किया। जानवर से नुकसान अगर हार में खेत में नहीं पड़ते हैं तो हमारी फसल नहीं बचती। रात न दिन हार में पड़े रहते हैं।
According to a 2014 study by the National Institute of Disaster Management, farmer suicides, famine deaths, distress migration. For 18 of the last 30 years, recurring and long droughts have been the bane of the 21 million poor and marginalized people of the Bundelkhand region. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that he will convert Bundelkhand into Kutch. How will he do that is the million-dollar question. With Bureau Inputs, signing off for Ground Report.
From Bundelkhand, we now take you to Madhya Pradesh, which is the largest producer of the organic farm produce. How has this state been able to implement the mantra of Go Organic? Find out from this report.
Till about 5 years ago, like any other farmer in Madhya Pradesh, Avinash Singh Dangi was an avid user of chemical fertilizers. But keenly aware of the poisonous effect it was having on his crops and the damage they were doing to his fields, he switched to organic farming. Today, he uses organic techniques alone on his 5-acre land holding. 2 acres to grow vegetables like cabbage and tomatoes, the other 3 for wheat, maize, pulses and soybean.
जैविक तरीके से जो सब्जियां उगाई जा रही है उसमें पैसा तो कम खर्च होता है लेकिन मेहनत बहुत ज़्यादा लगती है और ये सारी चीज़ें स्वास्थ्य की दृष्टि से बहुत ही लाभदायक होती है क्योंकि अनजाने में हम जो कुछ भी बाज़ार से खरीद के खा रहे हैं सब्जियां उनमें बहुत ज़्यादा मात्रा में कीटनाशक दवाइयों का प्रयोग किया जाता है।
Madhya Pradesh has over 1,48,000 hectares under certified organic farming, out of total 340,000 certified hectares in the country. The state produces no less than 40% of total organic farm output in India. But despite this, for small farmers, organic farming remains a tough and expensive choice. According to studies by ASSOCHAM, the organic farming market in India is growing at the rate of 25 to 30% every year and will reach around $1.36 billion by 2020. But the fact remains that organic farming also needs a holistic and relatively costly apparatus. Avinash himself maintains livestock, 5 cows and 2 bulls, whose dung and cow urine are also used as insecticides and fertilizers to replace chemical alternatives.
जब हम सब्जियां खरीदेंगे तो हमको न ब्लड प्रेशर होगा, शुगर होगा, थायराइड होगा, घुटनों में दर्द होंगे, न हार्ट में ब्लॉकेज होंगे, जो कि आजकल बहुत तेज़ी से फैल रहे हैं हमारे भारत जैसे देश में, विकसित देश में, तो इन बीमारियों से हमें छुटकारा मिलेगा.
With only 0.04% of total agriculture land under organic cultivation, organic farming is undoubtedly an untapped potential in India. And although health-conscious consumers wholeheartedly support its growth, smaller farmers face many costly challenges in adopting organic farming.
अभी तो काफ़ी साधन आ गए, जैसे हमारा ड्रिप इरिगेशन आ गया. ड्रिप इरिगेशन से अगर सब्जियां जैविक की जाए तो सिंचाई बदल दी जाए तो उससे काफ़ी जैविक से उत्पादन प्राप्त किया जा सकता है.
When it comes to universalizing organic farming, India has a long way to go. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In fact, Madhya Pradesh has set in the best example for organic farming, and we promise to get you many stories of organic farming from other states when they go organic. Time now for some viewer feedback. Devraj Sharma has written to us that Groundreport is a good initiative. You should cover Saharanpur riots and show the common man what is really going on there, especially with Dalits. Devrat, we promise to send you the cameras to Saharanpur. And in fact, if not in the next episode, an episode after that, we promise to get you some stories from Saharanpur as well. Another feedback which we've got is from Shubham Sharma. He's written to us, your team is doing a beautiful work to take up the grassroots issues. India is facing a huge water crisis, but in Udhampur in J&K, there are a lot of aquifers and we can easily find the groundwater. My concern is that the water is running all day and night and our government is not taking measures to store that water. Maybe one day we won't have enough water in Udhampur to drink. Your team should visit here. So thanks, Shubham, for writing to us. We promise to get you some stories on water wastage from Udhampur. Time now to wrap this edition of Ground Report. Don't forget to send us your feedback on the email ID flashing on your screen, feedbackgroundreport@gmail.com. If at all you feel there is an issue which has been left unaddressed in your area or your region, RSTV promises to send the cameras right there. Thanks and goodbye.